Fabio Wardley is a world champion. What an inspirational journey it has been from white collar to world champion. Incredible, incredible stuff. White collar, as you know, is associated with charity boxing, man with head guards on, brothers coming out the dog and duck, windmills, people doing the front crawl there in the ring. It's got a reputation for being a low form of boxing. So for a white collar artist, with no amateur pedigree to become world champion is an incredible feat in boxing. It really is, Rocky Balboa kind of stuff. Huge respect to Fabio Wardley. That brother was parking up, man, from the pub. Dave from the accountants was getting parked up not so many years ago, and now he takes Usyk's WBO belt after he relinquishes it. But how much credit can you take when you get the belt without actually winning it? Is that right? Does that sit comfortably with him? Does that sit comfortably with you as fight fans for a belt just to be gifted? Christmas has come early, gifted on a plate to you. Would he prefer to have that belt vacated and fight for it and win it? He's just had the news that Joseph Parker had tested positive for the old Tony Montana on the fight night. That brother was a nosy Parker and has been done for taking cocaine on the fight night. How true that is, we will not know. Whether that brother will be cleared, we do not know. But he's had that news, and that may have taken a bit of gloss off of his exceptional performance in what was a wonderful fight. But then he's had more good news in being now anointed king of world heavyweight boxing and having a world championship belt around his waist. But does it sit right with him? It's like a Man United player, back in the days, Quinton Fortune, he's got 3 Premier League titles, and that brother did absolutely nothing for them, it's not going to sit right with some fans that, that a belt is just gifted to a fighter. And listen, I'm sure Fabio Wardley will not care. I'm sure he will not care. He's come from this, literally the small halls, from charity boxing to fighting, the top fighters in the world, and now being crowned world champion. Listen, his record is that of a champion. I am not taking anything away from this brother. I am absolutely delighted for Fabio Wardley, a true gentleman. 20 wins, 19 of them by KO, and only 1 draw. And on that kill streak, he went on a Call of Duty type of kill streak, a longer streak than my Duolingo streak. I must get back on that. I'm never going to learn a language. But, since he beat David Adelaide, which was supposedly a 50-50 bout, put Adelaide down in the 7th round and won by TKO. Adelaide unbeaten at the time. He's gone on an unreal streak, Fraser Clark, Olympic bronze medalist. The first fight was an absolute war. That was a draw. But then the next fight, the rematch, a big right hand, literally found him like he was Google Maps, like bang on the temple, absolutely distorted Fraser Clark, like concaved his head, literally concaved his head. It's not often you see a brother with a hole in his head. Do you know what I mean? Like when you see someone whacking a heavy bag and you see the bag concaved, his head was concaved. Like he literally smashed his head in, that wouldn't even be doing the description any injustice. He smashed his head in. And that was meant to be a tough fight. And then he goes on to fight Justice Hooney in what, turned out to be an unbelievable comeback. That brother come back like a boomerang in that fight. He was getting jabbed up like a COVID patient. He was getting beaten to the punch. You know what I mean? He was, Hooney took it to the max. Took him to the max like he was Pepsi. He was all over him, they needed to get a restraining order on Hooney. He was literally all over Fabio Wardley, and Wardley man, that brother is like Chat GTP. You know, he just finds the answers. You know what I mean? You know, he is like Google. He just finds the answers. And he found the answers. Like I said, he found the answers. He found that one punch bang, malfunctioned the brother, like, you know, stretched him out like a limousine in the middle of the ring, wove Uni into the canvas, and picked up the victory. It was impressive, but it raised doubts, you know, like, okay, this guy can be outboxed. Do you know what I mean? People can work him out. Who needs quality though, man? He'll be back. You know what I mean? He'll be back. And then obviously the last fight against Joseph Parker, which was a WBO interim fight. As I said, Parker's now been you know, punished for taking the whites, but that Parker was favourite in that fight. You know, he had more experience. He had almost double the amount of fights as Wardley, a former world champion. Parker's been in there with some serious operators as well. You know, like Bacoli, Zhang, Wilder, Jack Massey, Joe Joyce, Chisora a couple of times. You know, Dylan White, Anthony Joshua, Huey Fury, you know, Andy Ruiz. You know, Parker's been around the block, you know, a champion young, and he was favouring that fight. And Wardley, I mean, it was a humdinger, man. It was back and forth, an absolute humdinger of a fight, crazy fight, you know. And Wardley, you know, he did what was asked of him. He got the finish. People say it was a premature stoppage. I actually thought, you know, there was a lot of unanswered punches going in. Do you know what I mean? And you know, when you're ringing someone and they're not answering, usually there's a problem. You know what I mean? So I think there was a problem, and you know, the referee jumped in. Like, people disagree with me on this, but what I'm trying to say here is that Wardley's CV is that of a world champion. You know, he's only really missing, you know, one of the big names off of it, and that would be, of course, Usyk. But like a Joshua or a Fury, if he had one of those guys on his CV, I don't think anyone would blink at, yeah, he's a world champion. He's world champion material. A good fight with Dubois would be nice. Like, I think that'd be a fight people want to see. I think Usyk would just be too much, but he's just too much for everyone. You know what I mean? Now, Usyk is, you know what I mean? He just calculates you, works you out, spits you out, and it always spits out the right sum. So, listen, how do you guys feel about it? Wardley is now a world champion. I think it's I think it's like Hollywood stuff. It is a romantic story from white collar to world champion. But does it sit well with you that he's a world champion, a heavyweight world champion, without winning his belt in the ring? Like, comment, share, and subscribe, my people. Let us know your thoughts. White collar to world champion, Fabio Wardley. Congratulations, my brother. And peace out, my people. Stay tuned. Big interviews on the baddest boxing platform in the UK incoming.